So then my friends, in this lesson we're gonna learn how to use arrays in Java. But first, let's take some notes about arrays. So an array is a container that holds a fixed number of values of the same data type, which means that when declaring an array, you have to decide which data type you want to use. This can be integers, doubles, floats, characters, strings, booleans, and so on. And each element within an array can be accessed directly using its index number. And it's important to note that array indexes start at 0. So let's visualize how this works in this example. So here we have this array with 8 elements, and each element has an index. So if you want to access the first element, which is 1 here in this case, we have to use the index 0. And if you want to access the element 5, you have to use the index 1. And if you want to access the element 7, you have to use the index 2, and so on. Note that this array has a length, which means that this array has 8 elements. And in Java, we primarily work with 2 different types of arrays. We have one-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. So a one-dimensional array is like a single row of elements, while a multi-dimensional array can be visualized as a table or matrix with rows and columns. So let's break it down further with some examples. So for one-dimensional array, we have this example with 3 elements. So this array has 3 elements, 1, 5, and 7, and each element has an index. And if you want to access each element, we can use a single index. For example, if you want to access the first element, so inside square brackets, we have to use the index 0, and this gives us the first element, which is 1. And if you want to access the second element, we also use the index inside square brackets. And for a multi-dimensional array that we also call a matrix, so in this example we have 3 times 3 matrix. We have 9 elements, and each element has 2 indexes. So if you want to access, for example, the element 9, we have first to specify the line number, which is 0 in this case, and then you have to use the column number, which is 0 here. And if we want to access, for example, the element 3, we have to specify the line number, which is 1, and then we have to specify the column number, which is 0 in this case. Now, when should we use arrays in Java? So here I have listed 3 main reasons to use arrays. So arrays are ideal when you have a fixed number of elements and need a simple, efficient way to store and access them. They also offer performance benefits due to their fixed size and contiguous memory allocation. Additionally, for simple use cases, arrays provide a straightforward solution without the overhead of more complex data structures. So now that we have covered the theory, let's move to our IDE and see how we can implement arrays in Java. So then my friends, as you can see here on IntelliJ IDEA, I have already created a Java project and I call this Java Data Structures. Then I'm gonna create a new package for arrays, and then I'm gonna create a new Java class, and we're gonna start with the first type, which is one-dimensional array. And here I'm gonna add the main method, and the first thing that I want to start with is how to declare an array in Java. And to do that, the first thing that you have to specify is the data type, and here I want an array with integers. So int square brackets the name of your array equals new int square brackets again, and then you have to specify the number of elements you want in this array. And to initialize an array, write the data type square brackets the name of your array equals, then curly brackets, and add your array's elements. To assign values to an array, write the name of the array, and inside square brackets use the index, and then assign values to your array's elements. Now let's print the length of our array using the length attribute. And if we run this code, as you can see, we got length equals 5. And to loop through an array, let's first use the traditional for loop. So first, you have to initialize your index, then the condition, then increment your index, and inside this for loop, print your array's elements. And if we run this code, as you can see, we got all the array's elements. And the second way to loop through an array is by using the enhanced for each loop. So here we write for each value of our array, then inside this loop we print the array elements. And if we run this code, as you can see, we got the same result. And the third way that you can use to loop through an array is by using streams. So here we write arrays.stream, then we pass our array, then for each, and we print the array elements. Run this code again and we got the same elements. Now let's create another Java class for multi-dimensional array. Then I'm gonna add the main method, and let's see how to declare a 2D array. And to do that, we specify the data type here int, then double square brackets, the name of your array equals new int double square brackets, then you specified line numbers and column numbers. And to initialize an array, we write elements for each line inside a nested curly brackets. To assign values to a multi-dimensional array, write inside square brackets the line and column index number, then equals, then you assign the value. Use the length attribute to get the array length, or specify the element index number to get how many elements inside. Now let's see the different ways to loop through a 2D array, and as we saw with one-dimensional array, the first way is traditional for loop. The first loop will loop through lines using the index I, and the second one will use the index G to loop through columns. Then we're gonna access the array elements and we're gonna print them. And if we run this code, as you can see, we got all the array's elements. And then we're gonna do the same thing with a nested for each loop. The first one will loop through the rows or lines, then we're gonna access and print each line elements. Run this code again and we got the same elements. And the third way and the easiest way you can use to loop through this 2D array is by using arrays.stream. Then you flat your arrays element, use for each, then print your arrays elements. Click on the run button, and as you can see on the terminal, we got the same result using 3 different ways. So then, my friends, that's it for this lesson. I hope you now have a clear understanding of arrays and how to use them in Java. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.